Wow. You know, this podcast, we've come a long way with this podcast. I remember back in the time when this podcast just started, the first baby steps. I had no idea what I was doing. I think I talked like 10 minutes about butts and asses. And, but I want to thank you, everybody, for, the whole time, for the support, the emails I have received, the fan letters, the fan mails I have received. I have all of them. Just the last 3 days of fan mails, I have here in this box. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for supporting us, supporting me. And, we're just continuing. And this is episode, I think it's episode 2 of this podcast. That makes sense. Maybe tomorrow. And as a fan, how this podcast works. Sometimes it's a little bit more serious. Sometimes it's not. And sometimes I don't know what it is. This time it is a little bit more serious because we are talking about the Egyptian revolution in 2011. I was able to talk to a lovely person who lived throughout the Egyptian revolution of 2011 in Egypt. He will tell us what he has experienced throughout his eyes, and he will tell us how the country developed. I really, really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you are doing the same. Don't forget, you can listen to this on Spotify or on YouTube. It will just be audio, no video. That's it. Thank you very much and enjoy. You're ready to relive the past, to re-experience what you experienced now 10 years ago. And let's go through it. Maybe let's start with, I can tell you what I know from that time. How I was in Germany and how I experienced the commercial media talking about it.
Yeah.
So there's not much I know or I still remember. I just knew they were constantly talking about the Arabic Spring, and that's what they called it, Arabic Spring, and that the countries in North Africa were fighting against their current government and their dictatorships. And another, that's almost everything I remember. The only other thing I remember is that that guy from Libya, Gaddafi, that he got beaten up like a
Actually, they found him hidden in a pipe.
I remember that
pipe, and
that was really fucked up.
Had been killed in a field.
Yeah, he was beaten up, and then he died.
Yeah,
that was heavy. And how many like dictatorships where they like beat up the guy in the end? I don't know many. Like for example, Saddam Hussein, he got a court case and he was hung up, and they filmed it.
Gaddafi, he had the worst, more disastrous end among these all dictators. And I think for the Egyptian president, Mubarak, he has the best glorious end because he died this year, actually. And he died peacefully at his home. And, he didn't get accused of any case that was raised against him. And they made a very military funeral, formal one for him. And the current president, who took over the power now, he went in the funeral with everything.
Wow!
Yeah, so it was a glory about it. So he had the best end, and the worst end was for Gaddafi, who had been killed in a. They found him in a pipe and they killed him in the field.
Yes, and they filmed it even. That was heavy shit. I remember that was heavy shit. And okay, but that's everything I know. So then let's go back. And what do you know the first steps of that revolution? Did you feel it in your family? Did you see it in the news? Did you see it on the streets immediately? What were the first steps?
Yeah, actually, there was a kind of vibes that you can never forget before the revolution. And a kind of these vibes can tell you that there is something extraordinary in the society. It is like there is out of a pattern, out of the chaos, and there is like a dominating wave is coming. So that people now are not separate, and they have a unique opinions about certain things. And there was a rising hate have been accumulated against the Egyptian police. And that was really manifested after a young man was killed in Alexandria. That was my hometown, actually.
Who was killed? A young man?
A young man, yeah, who was killed. And he was killed in the street by police guys. And he was filmed. And there was a big opposition and big anger being in the street against the police. Because also the police have been so much. But Mubarak was really wise, because he made people fight is just with the police, not with the government. The police was very brutal. There was a lot of corruption as well, and they said this guy was a drug dealer, but the actual case was that these guys has filmed a drug case by the police that was smuggling by the police, because police also get the criminals and take the drugs, and then they distribute it between each other, and then they get their interest out of it,
Okay. He was filming the police doing shady stuff.
Yeah. But after that guy was killed, there have been a page on Facebook was called We Are All Khalid Said, who had been killed. And this page had more than 2 million or something, I don't remember exact number, about millions of followers who had a hate against the police. That was before the revolution. And
was that how long before the revolution?
There was about not much, maybe 9 months or something. And by that time, the social media was not very much things was undiscovered thing by the society by itself, like normal people. And for the government, that was, we don't know what is social media. No one knows about Facebook. And that police don't know about what is going on the social media. And that social media created a space for people to communicate and to organize and to make the pattern out of the chaos, Mubarak has, and in the latest of the ruling of Mubarak's regime, there was a bit of space for the opposition. There was parliament, and there is opposition in the parliament. It's not for sure. It's not a majority, but there is also in the press, in the media, there is some opposition. So he was like making it not very much tight and close, not like nowadays. And there was also the Muslim Brotherhood, who was very much dissolved in the community, and they have very good structure on land. And there's a lot of movements and a lot of parties which are in a left side or in the middle, and considered to be opposition.
Egypt was far better off in that status than what Libya was. Libya was a pure dictatorship.
It's way better than Libya was.
So it was a governmental structure. There was democracy at that time. Was he elected? He was elected, the guy, right?
No, he was not elected.
He was not elected, okay.
He was never elected, actually. They do like a referendum every 5 years. And if it went to no, then we do a presidential elections. And it's all the time is yes.
Okay,
so it's like,
no means we don't want him anymore, so we need to have a new election.
It's like the question is, would you like to re-elect the current president? Yes or no? So it's something like this. And before the revolution, there was a big a pressure, especially from the outside international world, to make multiple presidential elections. Yeah, and it was like a play. Yeah,
but then this case happened where the guy was killed by the police, and then that was like one of like the beginning phase.
It's like accumulation from 2001 when the first the street people became going to the street from 2001, and I think that the beginning of the first Palestinian Intifada that created also uprisings against the government, because the government was not supporting the Palestinians as it should be. And also, in the demography in the Middle East is people very much concerned about religion, and they're much conservative, and they're much touched by what is going on from between Israel and Palestinian. Okay. But 2001 there was the first Intifada, and there's accumulation, and then what happened in the workers' strikes in 2006, and then Mubarak is approaching 30 years ruling Egypt, and also the police becoming more and more in power and brutal, and people became struggling more, and they found that there's no other way we can go through multiple presidential, and this was also play. People became angry. So it's like accumulation from 2001 till 2011. After what happened to that guy got killed, people became really a dominating wave has been formed against the police. There was much hate against the police. I remember when I was in the street, the people was talking that if we have been stopped by a police, we will not let them search us unless they have a permission. And if they cross the lines, we will also cross the line. It's like people became really angry, So what happened is on the 25th of January is a police day. We celebrate every year as a day of police because in I think it was 1967 the police standed against the colonists. At that point there was no army, and then the police standed and a lot of policemen killed. So at that day it is the day of police. So every 25th of January there was a celebration of the police day. So people choose this day to deliver a message to the police that enough is enough, And then the movements on the ground announced that there are going to be big demonstrations, and we are going to deliver a message to the police that we want the guys who killed that young man to be cased, sued, and we want police to have punishment, and rules can be governed the police, how they act, how they treat the civilians, and all these legitimate demands from the people. That was on the 25th of January 2011. What happened? The police has a formal response to that, which made people more angry, and they said we will not allow any demonstrations. So people became more and more angry, and when there was a demonstration broken 25th of January, a lot of people went to the street, and there have been violence from the police against them, which made people more angry. And what happened after 2 days, on the 28th of the 3 days, nobody have ever expected. Nobody. Even till today, we don't know how this happened.
Okay, what happened?
And after the prayer of Friday, all the police stations have been attacked at once from people through all over the country at the same hour.
Wow.
all the police stations have been attacked, and all the policemen were running, taking off their formal suits and wearing pajamas or wearing t-shirts, trying to hide.
Okay.
A lot of policemen have been killed. A lot of revenge have been taken at that day. The system have fallen at that day, and we saw that people broke out shops, took things from it. There was no state. It was absolutely chaos. They attacked the police violently, and they took the weapons from the police station. And in that day, I have been offered 3 AK-47 to hide it from a police guy who was hiding with some guns.
Was he a friend of yours or?
Yeah, I was in the army.
Yes.
By that time, and that day was my time to go back to the base.
Wow.
And I went to the train station before the prayer, which was everything was normal. But there was demonstration, and I saw a lot of smoke in the horizon, and I saw some people on a motorcycle carrying injured people, and there was like a kind of it's not normal day. And they said, there's some demonstration, some people are breaking into some police stations. And then I went to the train station, and after I entered the train station, they said the military guys who's going to the base have to gather in a certain point. And then there was a man from the military police said, the trains are going to be late a little bit. We don't know what to do, but you have to stay here, close inside the train station. It's not safe. And I stayed for like 3 hours, and then he came and he said, the train railways are being cut off in between. Try to change your military suits, and if you have these sport suits in your bags, try to put it on and go back home.
For your own safety.
For your own safety, and go back home.
How did you feel? Did you because what is the connection from the military in that time? Is the military like, of course, most likely behind the government, right? So when the government says, hey, there were like police stations attacked, we need support, then they might send also military guys. So were you afraid that they will send you, or?
Yeah, but this time I was still young, and I don't know how these things been managed. But at that time, the military was from people, they had too much respect.
Okay, so it was not like we will fuck up the police guys and next we will fuck up the military. It was
it's not like that.
No, okay.
And then I get out, and I know, I was a bit worried because it was not normal, and I don't know what can happen. And at the outdoor, I saw a guy struggling, and he's blood on him. He was a soldier, and people say that people beat him up, and he's about to die.
Oh.
And I saw a lot of broken glass, a lot of smoke around, and there was no transportation. It took me like 15 or to 20 minutes to walk from the train station to my home. And there was like, everything is messed up. The system has fallen. It's like, there is no state. You are on your own.
You went to the train station thinking everything is normal, and then the train didn't come, and then everything changed rapidly.
And they cut off all the lines of the internet and the phone lines. The government, they asked Vodafone, and they asked all the providers to cut off the internet. I cannot call my family. And then I walked 15 minutes, and I saw people in one of the main streets. There was a police station, and I saw a fire coming out of this police station, and people climbing in a window. And they say that broke inside and freed all the prisoners and took all the weapons.
Wow.
Yeah. And at that point, because I still was wearing military suit.
Yeah.
The guy came to me with a big bag, and he say, I have freed all these guns from people. They are stealing everything. I don't know where to take them. There are 3 AK-47 Egyptian guns from the police station, and he said, take these guns and deliver it to the base, or call your leaders or do something, because I cannot take them anymore.
So it was a random guy who just passed by when you were going home.
He was a police guy. He was not an officer. He's a
police guy.
Yeah, police guy. And he was like, oh, I don't know what to do, so I freed this, but I can't walk with them because it's not safe. So he gave it to me. And
you took them?
I gave it to him back. Actually, I was really, really afraid too, because I don't know how to walk
with 3
AK-47 in that kind of situation where people are really mad against, and I may have been killed or something if they found this weapons.
Yeah, they would take it for you, or they would.
I was really worried to take this, and also I don't know what to do. Maybe in the end I found myself, okay, you stole them, and then the army can sue me. You know, you never know how. It's a big problem. So I told him, no, man, you take them home, keep them until further notice. And then I left. I don't know what to do. I've been asked a lot. A lot of soldiers came to me. Oh, sir, we can't go. I have to go to the base, and I don't know how to go to the base. And I say, go home.
Did other soldiers talk to you?
Yeah. Then I went home, and my mom was really happy because she said, we can't reach your phone, and everything was messed up.
At that time, it was also in television, and the media knew what's going on?
Yeah, I think at 8 or 7 p.m., there was an announcement on the TV that there have been a curfew, and the army is taking down the country, and the tanks now is in the streets, and we are going to set order again to the chaos.
They announced that the military is taking over.
Yeah, it's taking, the streets. And the several days were the best days I've ever experienced in my life this week, because I stayed 1 week until the next Friday I have to get out the train, because this train comes every Friday.
Wait, one of the best days in your life?
One of the best days of my life.
After you came home from the train station?
Yeah, this week.
Okay, why?
That you felt the freedom.
Oh.
You felt something that you have never felt before. You felt the streets is yours.
Okay,
every day there was.
But was it pure freedom, or was it mixed with chaos?
What happened that day, I cannot even describe it. But it was the best thing I've ever experienced in my life, and I will never experience something like this after.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
So people made social committees. In the neighborhoods to protect, and we made shifts, so everyone got in the street, and he got like a stick or something, and we light up some fire, and we stayed in the street, like protecting our every people of neighborhood, protecting this neighborhood. People get to know more about each other, these committees, and they made their own system, and they were searching everyone is passing, even if he was a police guy. And at that moment, that was a very rare moment in the Egyptian history, that the Egyptian people now had to stop a police car and get the policemen out of the car and search them and see the IDs. Wow. And then tell them, yeah, you can go.
Okay. It was a sense of freedom and taking over rights and independency.
And on the Corniche, you can play football on the Corniche, which was normally was very loud, very crowded with cars. Now you play football on the Corniche, and every day there was demonstrations and setting up, and people talking and speaking about politics, and drawing graffitis, making music. You can see people, young people, doing skateboardings, a lot of banners with slogans in English and French and German.
Yeah.
Like the middle class have been very much expressed about themselves.
Yeah.
And how they see the future. And that was the best days I've ever experienced it. And the robberies was like 2 days, but after that everything was under control.
Yeah.
At that time there was a lot of people in the Tahrir Square in Cairo. They made a sit-in in the tents, and they tried so hard, the government, to clear up this setting, but they couldn't.
Yeah.
People defended really well, and after 18 days, Mubarak came with this historic speech about that. No, he's not. He made a speech, but people refused, and then there was the historic announcement from the military that Mubarak has stepped down the power.
Oh, immediately after 18 days.
After 18 days from that day, from 25th of January, and they said Mubarak has stepped down the power, and the military will take over a transition period for 6 months, and they're gonna be an elections. And that was, the best moment that you have ever experienced. People are millions in the street celebrating that we won, we got our rights, and a lot of photos for that young guy who had been killed.
Yeah,
we got your revenge, and now we're making our own history. And
okay.
Yeah, that's the glory days, and this and it ends at this step.
Yeah, unfortunately, then it doesn't go too well.
Tragedies after.
But I understand that there was the excitement and the enthusiasm for change, and then you might think, especially you as free thinking, democratic, open-minded person, you think like, okay, my country is changing towards the better.
Yeah, everyone.
And people are opening up, art, openness, open-mindedness.
People was really good towards each other. People was really friendly to each other, and there was like this collective euphoria, that's people.
How was your family? Were they also optimistic, or did you have some elements in your family where they said like, oh no, I want
specifically
Mubarak?
My father and my mom was very much not liberal, but was not very much conservative. Especially my father was very much against Mubarak, and he was looking forward to change and was very happy that he stepped down. He was all the time like insulting him at home. Yeah.
And in many years, I think Mubarak was.
Yeah, it's 30 years.
That's a dictatorship time. Usually, you don't get elected for 30 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's heavy.
And also, he had a project to elect his son after him.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. Handover. It's a handover.
Yeah, it's a handover. Exactly. It's like, and people think that's why the military just made Mubarak step down the power.
Yeah.
Because also the military, they didn't like that he's going to hand over the power to his civilian son as well.
Okay, I understand. So it was the pressure of the people.
Exactly.
And then the pressure of the military. It was too much for him. So you think both of these made him then step down?
No, actually the military what made him step down. People have no... Now, what we learned after this Arab Spring, people have no... Power is in the weapons. People have no power. But
that's what you learned from it.
Yeah, but some parties get the use out of it, like the military did. Now, the international world, and that was Barack Obama in America now, he was trying to make a change to support the change in the Middle East by supporting a democratic movement.
Mm-hmm.
Obama was against Mubarak, and he didn't know also that this can bring the far radical Islamist. And then the military, now they have the streets against him, and the international world is against him. So, and they also didn't like that he's going to hand over the power to his son. So they just kicked him out of the race. Yeah, it's easy.
Which is also actually very unusual for the US, because the US, they love dictators when they are friendly with the US. They love the dictators in South America.
That's a common, but Obama was the exception to this rule, because Obama was different, was really different than the other. And if I remember the speech before Mubarak left, Obama made a speech and he says there must be a change in Egypt, and it has to be now.
Okay. Well,
so it's like, okay, we're not supporting you anymore.
I hope it was just because of good thinking or supporting the people in Egypt, but you never know. With like where you see the US is so supportive of dictators, as long as the dictators are working together with US. As soon as the dictators think of their own people too much and neglect the deals with the US, they get killed or the dictators get thrown away. And then a new guy comes in who is more friendly with the US. They lend the dictators money to build stuff, but when you want to build it, you need to use US resources. So the money goes back and they pay interest back to the US. So they were fucking over people and countries like that.
In most cases, you're right. They have supported lots of dictators, but in case of, because also I know diplomatic people personally who worked with Obama or in his regime, and they're far liberal and like leftist people support the rights, and they liked his presidential so much. I think he was exceptional also.
But in Egypt, okay, maybe you didn't succeed with, because there was an enthusiasm. There was like people wanted to have change. Yeah, the change has been successfully accomplished. Maybe not just because the people wanted it, but also the military was supporting it. But however, you had the change. So what happened then?
Not the change. No, I will not call it a change. I just call it stepping out Mubarak out of the scene.
But you guys were enthusiastic about it. You had, we thought, you said you were happy when you heard he stepped down, right?
They absorbed all the anger by this thing, but it's not enough for a change. A change, this never happened. The change till now.
But you were hoping for it at that time.
Yeah, we thought it's happening.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We never thought that we're going to step Mubarak out of the power. We have never thought about that. And 25th of January was just a message to deliver to the police that we don't like what you're doing. Enough is enough. We have never thought about like 18 days. There's gonna be no Mubarak. Mubarak was like God.
Yeah.
Like he exists before the time and after the time. You know.
30 years.
Yeah. Nobody can ever expect, like, if you ask anyone or tell them, yeah, you know that Mubarak is next 2 weeks, there's gonna be no Mubarak. He will say, oh, you have to go to a psychiatrist or something crazy.
But the change, let's not call it change, the step down happened from Mubarak.
Yeah,
and then the military said, we will take over for 6 months. Did you thought this was a good, okay, let's reorganize for 6 months and then let's go towards democracy, let's go towards freedom?
Yeah.
And
at that time, people has no issue with the military, the normal people.
Yeah.
Military have much respect. Mubarak was really wise that he kept them in behind.
Okay.
For all what is happening. So the corruption was also with the government and with the police.
Yeah.
And with the bad businessmen who have the authority, the power, and the money.
Yeah.
So that were the enemies for the people. Okay. But the military has a special place in people's heart, actually.
Yeah.
And at that day, I remember when the tanks came in the streets, people were shouting, people and the military hand in hand. Like, yeah, there was...
Oh, it was, okay.
I was like, yeah...
A real community of freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we were naive, and also the.
What means you were naive? You didn't know. It could have went in the other direction. I don't know if you can say you were naive. You were optimistic.
Yeah, we were optimistic at that time. All the power was in people's hand.
Yeah.
All the media speech is really like changed to the other direction, like. Before Mubarak stepped down, they would say, there is a conspiracy. There is people from Iran and Egypt that's trying to make a conspiracy against the Egyptian people. There is people taking money from America and Iran and Turkey and blah, blah, blah. And we saw people making sex inside this tent that was in Tahrir Square. That can't be. They are selling drugs. All this stuff. And after they stepped down, the power was in the people's hand, and you can see the same people in the media saying, "We were wrong. That was a revolution of Egyptian people who care about their country." And you see, oh shit. For me, I was a young man in a 21 years old, 22 years old. I've never seen lying that exposed. That was big shock in the world. And I've witnessed how the history is changing and how they change the facts that you saw with your own eyes to making something else, which made me question all the history I have learned and all the heritage, the cultural heritage I had taken. I've learned it since I was very young, because this is not the truth. It has nothing to do with the real facts, what happened. And that was a turning point for me and a lot of people in my generation.
Turning point of
how you think about things.
Okay.
You realize things
because
you question a lot of things.
I understand.
The history of the morals. You question the religion, all the stories you have been told that happened. You question it, and then you realize that is not true. That have been changed in a way that the people who have the power.
What happened then after the military took 6 months of power?
Yeah, it's like if you are newly married and there's good days have passed. Like your honeymoon is over.
You had a honeymoon and afterwards you see, I don't want to marry this person, actually. She's awful.
Wow. There's a honeymoon was over. By that time, the military was very, very, very smart people. They knew how to divide the line. So they divide the line by giving more power to the Muslim Brotherhood, the Islamic wing.
Okay.
So they said, now there was a struggle between whether we do...
The Muslim Power Group were like the opposition before, or they were just a group?
There was a very social group. They have a lot of connections.
Also a political party, or?
It was like a web, like a net. They have very good structure inside the society.
Okay.
On the land. So they know how to win elections with every possible mean, and they don't have much a word. Like they say, okay, we will not go to these elections, we are with you, and then they do another things.
Why do you think the military gave the Muslim Brotherhood the more power?
To divide the line.
Line of what?
Of people. They have to divide the people. They have to make people fight against each other. It's easy if you are ruling a group of people and they are in sync. What will you do? You have to make these people fight. By that time, there was a struggle between we will need to write the constitution first, or we will do the parliament first.
Okay.
The Muslim Brotherhood want to do the parliament first because they know they were gonna win the majority, and if they win the parliament, they can write their own constitution. But people in the left wings want to write the constitution first because at that time the constitution has to be very wide that can fit for everybody. Not for specific people who can do it. And they say we're going to make a big committee of all the diversity of a spectrum in Egypt for all the culture people, and they will sit together and they will do a new constitution that can draw underline the basics of the Egyptian freedom and the Egyptian state. At that time, the military says we're gonna make a referendum.
Referendum.
And we see people will choose to make the parliament first or
Oh, they made
constitution first. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a fair play of democracy. And then the Muslim Brotherhood was really happy about it. But at that time, people divided because we didn't want to make the parliament elections before we have a new constitution after the revolutionary state we are in.
Okay.
Yeah.
But who they voted for it, or the people?
They said the Muslim Brotherhood, because they know the Egyptian society very well, they want to change one of the clauses in. They said to people that the left wing want to change the main clause in the constitution, which states that Islam is a reference of the constitution. And that's means the end of Islam, and Egyptian is an Islamic country and will not let this happen, So they play on the people religious emotions.
Yeah, okay, understand.
They do it all the time. And then people went directly that we need to do the parliament first. We don't need to write the constitution. We want to protect our identity, Islamic identity. Yeah, and then they made the parliament first.
Which was very unfortunate. How were you reacting and your surrounding when you knew the military gave the Islamistic Brotherhood more power? Were you like, oh yeah, that could be...
I was.
You knew immediately this is going to be shit.
My rage and anger is rising against the Islamist Brotherhood. I would never thought about the military, because they were kind of they are taking the opportunity against people. So they gave them something, and then they stepped out of the line and they took this. So I would think about they are betrayals, because now they think about their own interest and leaving the people. And by that time, the Muslim Brotherhood, they win not the majority, but they win the biggest mass in the parliament. It's not more than 50%, but it's the biggest group by themselves. By that time, there was demonstrations in Egypt against the military, and now the military was using the violence against demonstrations, killing people. And they were discussing this in the parliament by that time, which has a majority, not majority, but the biggest mass of Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood. And they were saying that those people are not revolutionaries. Those people are conspiracy. Those people are the same things. So the street now the head begin to rise against the Muslim Brotherhood, who stepped out of the line, took the power. They are trying to reach the power, get the parliament, and also all the election in the syndicates. They are taking it. They are taking everything. And they also have their special media, who also have this hate speech all the day and night against any left group.
Yeah.
And they say that we made a revolution. We were in the Tahrir Square. We defended the square. Those people did nothing. They are making like they want the gays.
Okay.
All the conservatives, and they gaining all the conservatives. Yeah. By their side, and
which is a high amount in this country.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in most of the countries in these years, you see right-wing politicians are in charge in our generation now at the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Way more also in the Middle East.
Yeah. And so when we jump now to today, so I think we don't have to go through the years. The military was in charge. They put the Islamic Brotherhood more in charge. They won the parliament. And so it turned into a right-wing political environment in Egypt.
Yeah.
What happened then in these 8-9 years? Did anything really significantly change, or are they still in charge? Or?
There's a main stop when the first presidential elections have been organized.
And what happened in that election?
The worst thing ever. There was more than 13 candidates too much.
Too many candidates.
Too many candidates from all over the wider spectrum of Egypt.
Which means you also split the good candidates. When you have 5 liberal left wings and then they split the votes, that's not smart.
Yeah, but also that always the left wing is always divided, and the right wing always in form, in wave, in sync. But they get the 2 who had the highest votes.
Yeah,
and that was the Muslim Brotherhood candidate.
Yes,
and another one who was in the military before, retired, and he considered to be of the remnant regime of Mubarak's regime.
Oh, wow.
So that was a big split in the Egyptian street. People now they have to do another round between these 2 guys. People now have to choose.
But why these? Why the Islamic Brotherhood and the Mubarak guy? Like, you had a revolution, and you don't even have a candidate from.
That was the end of revolution.
Oh,
was really sad.
And who would you vote for? For the Mubarak
That was
guy?
a big riddle. That was a riddle. That nobody ever know. What are you gonna do? A lot of people say, okay, we're gonna ruin our votes. We're not going to vote. We won't stop. And then people say, I will go for the Muslim Brotherhood because I don't want also the Mubarak guys to come because it's a revolution. And that time the Muslim Brotherhood have announced it and get everyone from the left wing, and they said, we're going to share everything, and we're going to make the government together. We are not going to take this by ourselves. Give us our votes, and this is not going to be not a one spectrum only, but for everything.
Who won then?
The Muslim Brotherhood won the votes.
Okay.
I was really happy because I was also naive. Maybe the other guy, if he won, that was much better. But the Muslim Brotherhood won, and we think that this was a victory for the revolution, and we were happy. We were really much happy. And then 1 year, we couldn't take it anymore. There was a big rage and anger rising against the Muslim Brotherhood. They were trying to take over all the power they can, and they were trying to take the country to a place that we don't want to, like Iran and like the.
But this is today now, right?
That was 2013. The military, so they were making problems on purpose. A lot of problems, like cutting off the electricity for every day, and they say, oh yeah, this is the government of Morsi not capable of providing the electricity.
The military started to be against the Muslim Brotherhood.
They tried not against them, but they trying to make the street against them.
What the fuck, man? But let's jump to today. What is today? Can you?
Because that's what this is what result. In the 30th of June 2013, there are a lot of people in the street demanding the Muslim Brotherhood to step out the power. But that time, Morsi, the president, had been kidnapped,
and
then the who is the president now, who was a Minister of Defense. He made a speech that he is giving 3 days for the president to respond to people's demands. And after 3 days, he said, we took over the power.
Oh my God!
There was a revolution from the people, and again. And after 6 months, we're going to do another elections.
Okay. All right.
2013.
Okay. That's super.
A lot of things.
That's a lot of things. It's super complex. The military put the Brotherhood in charge. They didn't like them anymore. They said, no, they're shit. Now they take the power back. And now today, who's in charge?
The guy who announced it.
Oh, the same guy from the military.
Yeah. The same guy who announced it that
and
they're going to be elected.
You don't like that at all?
What happened? Yeah, because
the military is also quite right-wing. Quite
it's not right-wing, it's fascism. Fascism. But I would tell you, what happened is people supporting the Muslim Brotherhood will not stay quiet. So they made demonstrations, and at that time the demonstration was another anti-demonstration. So the street was divided, society was divided. There was polarization in the Egyptian society, and this was the born of the fascism in society. People hate each other. You are, and then categorizing, you are Muslim Brotherhood or you are with the government.
Okay.
And that was shit. And the Muslim Brotherhood think that the leftists have betrayed the Muslim Brotherhood, and the leftists say the Muslim Brotherhood betrayed the revolution. Muslim Brotherhood says that we make the revolution. There was a big divide in between the line.
Okay.
And that time they made a big sit-in in two places in Cairo.
Yeah.
One at Rabaa Square, and one at a place called Mustafa Mahmoud.
Yeah.
And they stayed like for 1 or 6 weeks, and then the military said, we cannot take it anymore for the Egyptian security. At that time, and the decision taken is the end of everything. They decided to clear up this setting by force. And that was a massacre who they have killed at least more than 1,000 people.
When was that?
That was 2014.
What the fuck, man?
They killed like more than 1,000 people in 2 hours. After they used the force, there were never ever peaceful demonstration was allowed.
Oh, okay.
Anyone can be killed. No excuse if you have been killed or been arrested. Now the power is no longer in the Egyptians' hands, on people's hands. Now the power have all gone to the military. Now the dictatorship of Mubarak have gone to the fascism time of the military. It is fascism.
Yeah.
It's not dictatorship. Dictators have a reason for things they are doing. So they do things that make sense in their interest. But fascism is like taking revenge. Like there is people now more than 10 years in the prison. A lot of people dying in the prison. I know one who died yesterday. Had been they took him 2 months before. He had died yesterday because he is posting things on Facebook. This is fascism.
Wow.
They're now taking revenge of everyone who they know have been participated in this revolution. And now the Americans are supporting this dictatorship. Not dictatorship, it's fascist.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all gone now. All the Muslim Brotherhood have been killed. President Morsi have died the last year in his prison. The Egyptian president, the Brotherhood president,
the Brotherhood president who was elected.
Yeah,
okay.
He died in the prison.
In prison, okay.
And the guy who was in the second round in front of him, the Mubarak's guy, he tried like 3 years before. He tried to go to run the elections against the military guys who was ruling Egypt now.
Yeah.
And they took him and put him in a prison as well.
Oh wow!
And they made him shut up, and he couldn't speak anymore.
Okay.
And now everything is under control.
So when we try to wrap it up, just the last thing. The situation is shittier than before the revolution.
Way more. So
the idea of the revolution was beautiful, but it turned into something bad.
It's a big tragedy.
And the military, they also use a religion as a weapon?
They use conservative people as a weapon.
Okay.
Because now have been so many cases, they arrest people who do TikTok shows.
Yeah.
Like they say, they are violating the values of Egyptian family. Something like that. So they are with the conservatives. So also conservatives say that the military is it's a good choice, better than the Islamic radical, and it's also better than the leftist who wants girls to take off their hijab.
Yeah. And they're afraid of that. Yes.
Yeah, that's for them. That is a shit. This is a
okay.
Killing is better than girls take off their hijab.
But life now is better for you. You're drinking an Cornout and an Ivit, and that's much more joyful than what you had to face there, right?
Yeah, man.
You feel a sense of freedom now. You feel more relaxed.
No, I feel the sense of a fugitive.
But even that can be better than being trapped or being in a society where you don't like it.
It's very painful if you live in Egypt with all the awareness you have of all the things you learned. It's being more and more difficult for you to live against people, because you are among people who like, we like the government, and you can hear this, and you know that you are living with people who can say explicitly that they like killers and they like criminals. And you're also afraid to express yourself because you can end up in their prisons and
but that's that's the thing I also experience. It's like I'm of course I'm very upset when there's an insecure idiot in charge and is dictating a country. But it's even more upsetting when you see the people who are following him and who are supporting him.
Yeah, it's very
people
painful.
In your surrounding, like saying things you could never imagine a person who can think normally could ever support.
Yeah,
that's very upsetting.
But I think it's a believing system as well. It's a believing system which allow you to survive, which allow you to live in this hard time. It's not on purpose. It's like a subconscious. This is what your brains do. It wants you to create the justice for you. So you always it makes the excuses and makes, so always if you found someone who you think that he is innocent, so maybe you think about, maybe he's in heaven or maybe he's not innocent, But if you are aware, you get more pain out of that.
Yes, for sure. All right, man. Thank you very much. Let's hope that our generation or the younger generation is pushing towards what we believe. You don't think so?
Man, I get fucked up. I don't think so. I'm really pessimistic now. Very realistic. Exactly. Very a lot of despair. Yeah.
But that's also the balance of history. You saw in history, when it gets towards extremes, it goes towards the other way. We went towards socialism and left wings. Now we are going towards conservative right wings in the world mostly. So there's a balance somewhere, and as long as it doesn't go too extreme for too long, maybe the future generations will be fine. Maybe in 20 years. But
but we don't have much time.
20 years, maybe 50 or 75 years. All right, man. Thank you very much.